So welcome to everyone to this hot topic webinars with the title of Helping Communities Understand How to Work with Elected Politicians. We're going to be for the next hour and a half sharing and listening and exploring together about how civil society and elected politicians can work together, how to build these bridges. We're going to listen different experiences, and we will be able to make some very interesting questions too. We have here with us Stephen the Mesmaeker and Gorka here, that I will present them briefly later. And together with myself, it's going to be Nicola Hillary from Transition Network, and both myself, Juan del Rio, and her, we will be co-hosting this webinar. So this webinar is part of the Hot Topics discussion series, part of the international community of practice of the Municipalities in Transition project. I know it's very long what I said, but the Municipalities in Transition project is a very experimental project that started a little bit less than 2 years ago, that want to explore and experiment on how civil society and municipalities can work together to foster systemic change at municipal scale. And community of practice is one of the legs of this project that wants to be a space for sharing knowledge, sharing practices, explore key topics. And this is one of the topics that the community wanted to discuss and to explore together. So that's why we're here. On the technical side, well, mostly everyone here knows how to use Zoom. I guess that more people will be joining us, but just a quick reminder. We have, if we go down, we have a button that says participants. So we would like to invite you to click that button, just on the bottom of your Zoom screen. Like this, you will see the participants on the right side. Jesus, Cristiano, salud. Cristiano, it seems that he's a little bit constipated, so cold. So you can see like that the participants on the top right side, and you will have the opportunity to put your hand up there when you will want to make some questions. Nicola is going to be with the technical side, so this means that you can also use the chat and write whatever you want, need there. You can activate your chat by going down also and click in the chat button. And I think this is more or less a quick summary. Yeah, and also important, please, when you don't talk, please put your mic off. I know we have already this culture in the people that we're here, but this is an interesting and important thing to avoid sound on the back. So, said that, I think first of all, like always we do in our gatherings, meetings, sessions, and so on, we always like to start with a check-in, to something quick to understand who is right now here, because we could be doing many different things. We could be spending this afternoon doing a lot of things, but we have decided to stay here. So Nicola has prepared a few questions. She just very kindly put it here on the chat. The questions are, who are you? Please be brief, just something very few words. Who are you? Where are you? What brought you here? And finally, and this is going to be useful for us, do you agree that the recording of the webinar will be used publicly online? This is very important for us because all these recordings, they are a very, very rich and valuable resource, and there's many people that really wanted to join this webinar, but we know that for different reasons they can't, but they surely will watch it afterwards. So just 2 minutes for you to answer on the chat these questions, and if you have any any complication, problem, please just, you can put your mic on also and say it. So we have already Tommy that put it there. Yeah, maybe it's easier if you answer all of them together in the same block, like this is not divided. But anyway, yes. And also we will start in a minute, and if you haven't had enough time, you can do it while we start. Yeah, I'm going to share with you here on the chat also. In case you don't know them, I think you all know them, but all of this is Juan's fault. Okay, thank you so much, Gorka. Yeah, well, it's what happened when. So, just for you to know, I'm sorry because I put it. I'm going to put it to everyone. This is a link to the hot topic series, so you can watch the recordings of the, I think, if I remember well, 6 previous webinars, which is really a lot, 5 or 6. Okay, so let's start then, and while we start, you can finish to put all that info there. Thank you so much. We have Joe, Felipa, Tommy, Pedro, Tracy, Gary, Stephen, Gorka, and Cristiano. So Gorka, we're going to start with you. You will have like the next 10, 12 minutes. So Gorka Egia is mayor of Orendain, a rural village from the Basque Country in the Gipuzkoa area. And he has been almost 8 years as a mayor of that, of 10, 8, no? Almost 8. And he has been doing really a lot of things. He has been collaborating with the Transition Spanish Hub for some years, and he has been doing a lot of stuff regarding energy, waste, well-being, economy, and many other things. And it's a real pleasure to have you here with us, Gorka. So the scenario is for you. Thank you for coming.
All right, so hey everybody, my name is Gorka Egia, as Juan says. Very nice to meet you all, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to be part of this webinar. I'm going to introduce myself because the main objective of this webinar is to help you understand how to work with elected politicians. So if your goal is to understand how to work with us, maybe the first task you need to put your hands on should be to get to know the politicians in your community. Because we all have different backgrounds and different reasons why we decided to become mayors or representatives. I know the reputation of politicians is not at its best. We are not considered the hottest, neither the most attractive group of people, like soccer players or rock stars, but maybe you might get surprised if you try to know us. Well, I am a 40-year-old European Basque, white, single gay man. I consider myself to be very loving, outgoing, fun, and goal-oriented. I'm not perfect though, because I kind of have some attitude and bad temper when things are not happening as they should in my mind. Well, Juan knows me already. I'm very direct, too direct sometimes. I like to work, I like to create and develop projects, cooking, organizing parties for friends, and long, warm summer days at the beach reading the newspaper. The ecological and social issues worry me the most. I have always been involved in Basque language support groups. I have been a primary school teacher for the last 16 years, 3 in Navarre, 3 in California, and 10 years where I live. While being a teacher, I have been a mayor in a small town, countryside town called Orendain, volunteering in my free time. My legislation is about to end. Big party. Damn it. As you said, Juan, 8 years. Come on. It's crazy. But why did I decide to run for mayor? What was my motivation? Well, there was a very exciting but complicated political situation in 2011. ETA announced a ceasefire, but the Spanish government was ready to outlaw the political party that I usually support again. So it was time for people like me, I mean, people never involved in any kind of political action, to step forward and organize a new political party. So that was the starting point. But I never in my life, not even a year before I became a mayor, would I think I was going to do that. I just came back to my country after spending 3 years in San Francisco living la vida loca. Somebody had to do it, and I did it. I have been a representative of a political party, but I have been an independent representative. I'm not enrolled to this political party, even if I could, and I'm not a member. So before you judge and decide who someone is, try to meet the person. My political party is much more than what I am, but I am more than the political party I represent. I don't know if that doesn't make any sense, but well. Anyway, I'm sorry about this part of the speech because I'm not trying to talk about myself, even if I did. Here's what I mean. It's going to be very different if you try to approach a professional politician in a big city or a volunteering mayor in a small town. If the politician in front of your eyes has been an active member of a political party during all her life, all of a sudden she has to become a mayor because somebody has to do it. If he has been working for a big corporation before becoming a mayor, or he has been teaching in a poor neighborhood, you should take into account all these personal details. Let me give you some examples of my own in order to illustrate why knowing your representative is important for this first approach. A first impression is what it takes to make it work or fail it forever. A lot of times, people come to me and talk like, I don't know, if I was the Prince of Persia or something, it makes me feel like awful. In my case, call me by my name, not Mr. Mayor or anything like that. But if you go to a bigger city and I don't know, you are talking to a whatever mayor, you better, you have better follow the protocol. Another situation. One day, someone with his best intentions asked me to organize a mountain race. And I was like, you know what? I have to go to work. And then in my free time, I have to do the mayor thing. Plus, I don't like running. I don't even run to catch the bus. So why don't you organize the mountain race? Trust me, if you do it, I will support you. That's what I said. But maybe another kind of mayor might like organizing everything and have everything under control. So he won't help you unless he's not aware of what you're doing all the time. That's what you need to take care of, with whom you're talking to. It doesn't work the same way in a small town and in a big city. The approach is easier in a small town than in a bigger city. I contact citizens door to door. We know each other for best and for worst. In bigger cities, the office of the mayor is not available all the time. I don't even have an office. Trust me, like honestly, I don't. Moreover, in a small town, big politics don't rule. And that's very helpful because the media doesn't play the game. So anyway, try to know who your representative is. Avoid any kind of prejudice. Look further than the political parties. Look further than what you think about her and try to meet her as a human being. Because I found interesting people around me, but I also found very interesting people in other environments and political parties. So this first part referring to the first approach. Well, we could also talk about manners and politeness. I have some bad experiences, like when the people comes to you like, you have to do this and you have to do, and you are this and you are that. But I suppose since we are all adults, you will do this right. Everything can depend on the first impression. Don't you forget it. Because as a mayor, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to do what you say, So just be polite at the beginning. So now let's keep it to the ground. In the end, everything I have been doing the last 8 years has almost anything to do with my ideas and personality or background and first motivation. Being a mayor is not that romantic. You could summarize all I had to do as a mayor in 3 main duties. 1, management, like generally speaking. 2, create and develop projects. And 3, take decisions. Let's now see how we could work with an elected politician in their duties? Well, management takes most of my time, from preparing all the meetings, answering the phone or to the emails, communicating with citizens, reading all the documents, coordinating with the council staff. It's exhausting and time-consuming. Moreover, all this part has nothing to or little to do with anybody else but the elected politician and the technicians. But you should know that most probably you are meeting with her after a long day or in between two meetings. So before you go with your best idea, just take into account that maybe she or he has been, crazy during all the day. Two, citizens have a lot to say while creating and developing the projects. The ideal situation is when the ideas come from the community and the community is keeping on an eye on the development of that project. All the public institutions should give a chance to citizens to present their project. But how do you do that? When? To whom? Well, it depends on how your council works. There might be a participation process going on during the year. That's how we do it in Orendain. Each year we organize a participation process and everybody has the option to present their project, whatever they consider it should be done. Afterwards, the citizens vote and decide which one goes ahead and which one doesn't. So inform yourself about how does your council work. On the other hand, in your town, there might be an opening window while the budget is being discussed. Maybe that's when you can present your project. In bigger cities, you might need to reach the technician instead of the politician. It might be more useful. You should also take into account which are the main guidelines and their objectives. Because if your project can fit one of the main objectives of that legislation, you will have more opportunities to make it work. Three, taking decisions. Taking decisions is another thing that a politician has to do all the time. It can be hard and annoying at times, believe me, depending on the person, but usually politicians appreciate the help in these kind of situations. We need counseling all the time because it's crazy how many topics do you need to master. You need to know about budget, about participation processes, about sustainability, urban design, law, etc., etc. The list of things you need to know is endless. And of course, you cannot know about everything. Like you know nothing. So it's appreciated when someone comes to you with a project, but also with some knowledge and ready to help you if you need it. You should make the politician comfortable while supporting your project. Plus, you should be able to offer all sorts of solutions and not only the problems. So that might help, Now, for the last part of my speech, I would like to take a break and turn the things around. Let's think about the title of this webinar for a moment. This webinar's title on the first part says, helping communities understand how to work with elected politicians. But I would like to tell you that most of the times the politicians wonder if we could understand how to work with citizens and associations, how to get you involved in council decisions and routines. It's hard, trust me. 75% of the population do not care about any of the topics you may care about. Let's be honest. People involved in community services, associations, and active individuals are the 25% of the population at best. And I am being generous. As you're trying to learn on how to make the community versus council relation work, I'm pretty sure your mayor's thinking on how to make council community relation work. Isn't it fun? Isn't it fun? And in Orendain, about 90% of over 16s vote every year, so they are a big part of the decision making in the city hall. But it's not because they want to do it. It's because we insist and follow them, like almost for everything, So are we talking about the community in general or the active community, which is the 25% of the population does? So I would like to propose another webinar on how to turn the involved community into the majority. On the second part, the title of the webinar claims how to work with a change in elected politicians. In this sense, I have one suggestion. It's not about changing the mentality of whoever is the mayor. I think that it's important to remember that you actually are on your right to run yourself for mayor. So instead of trying to change your actual mayor's mind and her objectives into the change, I would recommend you running for that position. Mostly because we need open-minded people in politics. We need to change how politics work from the root. And it is not going to be possible to do so unless we don't get involved. So I want to see you running for mayor in the next elections, wherever you are. And now let's summarize and organize the ideas to end up a little bit with this presentation. So first of all, I don't know if, give me a sec. I don't know if that works or not. So first of all, meet the politician, as a person, as a human being. He's not some weird thing, flying on a big building. Then, first impression matters. Be nice, be polite, go with a good idea and try to support him, Well, size matters too. It depends on if you are in a small town or a big town or, with a professional mayor or whoever like me doing whatever he can, keep in mind. Your representative might be busy. Remember that. He might or she might be busy. So then know about how your council works. When is the opening window to present projects, when to go, who you need to talk to, blah, blah, blah. Please be a part of a solution. Don't come to me with your problems. Bring me some solutions and I will help you, right? And remember, don't you forget it. Most politics wonder how to work with you. We do. We wonder how to work with you. And of course, you could be the next mayor. So then the change will happen. So that's what I had to say. I don't know if my timing was right and if I was clear or good or it was good or whatever. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Gorka. Very, very pedagogic and to the point. Thank you so much. I think it was very, very good. And for everyone's faces and claps and movements, it looks that they really enjoyed. So thank you. So now and later we will have the half of the webinar for sharing questions and other people to share their own experiences and so on. So thank you, Gorka. And now let's go to Steven the Mesmaeker. I think it's very interesting because the idea of having here Gorka and Steven is to bring this diversity. One from civil society that works and has relation with public administration, another one that is kind of an activist mayor, so I think it's very interesting. So Steven works in the municipal administration as Department of Head of Culture and Society, and is part of the community team in the city of Dilbeek in west border of Brussels in Belgium. So welcome. It's a real pleasure to have you here with us, Steven. And I think whatever you want, this is your space, and welcome.
Hello, everyone, and for my turn as well. Hello. Thank you, Gorka, for your nice lecture from the mayor's situation. I'm more the mediator between the political level and the civilians. As a civil servant, I work in processes with the civilians and with the transition movements happening in the city of Dilbeek. I'm going to share with you two stories I have in mind. Two stories we did participation processes with the civilians. One is initiated by the political level because we had to redesign two civil centers, city centers, where we had to redesign after 40 years new opportunities for sports, culture, education, senior apartments, and so on. So a whole project master planning we had to do. And for that, we invited several civilians. We had more than 90 people the first time when we had that participation process. And then we went on a dreaming exercise. And in a minute, I'm going to share you a picture here. For that, the result of the dreaming exercise was this. Can you see it? I hope you do.
Even we missed the last bit of what you said.
So I can share with you the dreaming process. It was designed, and I will show you now the picture. Do you see it?
Not yet. Are you trying to share your screen?
Yeah.
Not yet, but now it will appear. Maybe it will appear now. Let's see. You can you?
Wait, I'm gonna.
Now it seems that it's going to appear. Okay.
Okay. So this was the result of a whole thinking process with civilians, where we said to them, okay, think 30 years ahead in time, and so think that you are redesigning these city centers with a new view with your children and even with your children's children, so that you are totally taking from helicopter view this view. And so several topics came around, also new types of communication, of mobility, and it was really interesting to share this with the civilians. Although this was initiated by the political level, and I'm gonna remove the sharing now, I'm gonna go back to my image. So it was initiated by the political level. The politicians were also involved in the facilitating process. And that was not so ideal because of the fact that there was, of course, some opposition involved as well. And so they had immediately ammunition to shoot on these new projects that were coming out for the civilians. So there was certainly a lesson to learn in this participation process. So we had several nights where we developed several topics, greenery, sport facilities, and so on. And we did together, we went on with the groups to design a plan. And so now master planners are busy and working on it to make a huge master plan for the city of these two city centers. And now we see already the first developing of new youth center, multifunctional, and also the opening to have some pop-up bars, pop-up stores in these city centers. It was a really nice process to do, but with this risk, don't give the part of everyone what he needs to do. So the political level can initiate these kind of processes, but can't steer it, can't be in charge of running the facilitation process. That's very important in this. But now we have a change of government in Belgium, in our local city, and that was quite interesting because, of course, they were remodeling the master plan, of course, with budgets and so on, but still some of the framework stays there, and that's important to have it for the future. A second participation process I really would like to share was a participation process where one of the councillors came with the idea in summer, okay, we have an empty school building in Dilbeek. Let's do something with that because we know it's 4 years that it will be empty now, and we can develop some new things there and show to the building developers in future that there is a need in that city center for a local neighborhood center run by the neighbors and civilians there. So that was also really an interesting participation process. Initiative came from the political system, but they leave it away, and so the civilians were in charge to develop their own city center with their IDs. There we had a really nice participation process developed by an external facilitating runner, and so we had several initiatives going on. And now, starting from January, we had several initiatives there. There's a plant shelter, there's an education center. There are yoga lessons going on, and but we are using new tools to develop that. They are in charge of their own organization. The political level did give the freedom to them to organize it themselves. We are not renting or asking for rent for the rooms. No, they need present returns, what they can do, how when they do for a location. For instance, when the yoga was giving
Stephen, we're having some trouble with your sound fading in and out, but it was particularly bad just then. So if you could just rewind a minute or two and maybe speak a bit more slowly.
Okay. When the political level got involved in the project of this new neighborhood city center, they said, okay, we give freedom to the several civilian initiatives to manage their own school building and to manage their organizations. So they were free. We didn't ask for rent from the city, what we normally do in neighborhood centers, but here they could themselves propose, okay, I'm gonna share some returns. So the yoga lessons were given freely to another organization running in the building, and there was a family organization with educational tools for single parent families, for instance. That's an example. So the political level there involved give enough freedom to this kind of new civilian initiatives. The only thing there was that several civilian initiatives need to prove the wideness of their network. And that's really important, building trust to the political level several times when you are doing things. Don't see yourself in an area of we are just left-wing organization or not. No, you're gonna widen and broach your network with other people and to promote it, to have this support around. That's important there. So building trust in relation with the political level is very important. And as Gorka said before, because I'm not going to repeat that, don't go to the politicians only with problems. Give ideas for solutions. And if you prove by small steps, okay, these initiatives can work to improve the social cohesion in a certain area, to solve other problems of that area, and by little steps, then they will support this kind of projects. It's not always asking also for budget or money. No, the political level and also the administrative level can give accommodation, sharing spaces in every city, small or big. There are so many empty buildings that can be used and reused. And if the political level sees the advantages of this, to widen their network, connect people more, create safety areas, and so on, they will support that. And that's important to show in this transition. And of course, the political level and the administrative level can accelerate and help in accelerate the transition movement on these levels. But in building this trust, that's important. Don't see each other as enemies. Go together with that, and then you can see initiatives transition growing. But again, everyone has to play his part, his role in this adventure. So the political level is a political level, and they don't need to be to try to be civilian. The political level, meanwhile, or facilitate or not facilitate. Give civilians the freedom to develop their own civilian movement and civilian initiative. That's also very important in this. So no compensation by the administrative level or the political level. Give the freedom and work on that. So these are the two participation processes I want to share. I can later on more Facebook page information about this project. Neighborhood Center, what's in full development with pictures, and that will give more the ideas of what's going on there. But it's quite successful for the moment. A lot of civilian initiatives are joining and are building and are collaborating together to widen up this transition movement in that city center. And now I'm ready for several questions if you want. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Stephen, for your very good presentation and talk. We had sometimes some little problems with the sound. Thank you for repeating when it was needed. And overall, if we need any clarification or any question, we will have the time right now. Just a reminder, because you mentioned about some links and pictures, Stephen, but also for you, Gorka. If you have resources, this means, I don't know, whatever, a website or links to something, or names of whatever, videos, articles, please share it with us, put it on the chat, because later every day, after every webinar, we write a blog. Tom is our official writer, and he's the third co-guardian of the community of practice, even though he hasn't really talked yet. And like this, he can compile all these links and put it together with a short summary and the recording of the video. So please, Stephen or Gorka, if you have something, put it on the chat or send us an email. So thank you to both of you. I think it has been super interesting. We have the half of the webinar now open for us. So I'd like to remind that if we go down, we have a button that says participants, and we haven't done it yet. We can click there and we can see that we can see the list of the participants on our right top side. And there we can put our hand up. We can see the symbol there. So that's the way we're going to use. So like this is going to be very easy. We already have one from Pedro. Pedro knows very well how it works and he was very fast. But just to remind you, that you can do it like that, okay? In the case you don't know how to do it, we have the chat also, or you could even do it like this. So let's start. Let's try to make the space for as much as intervention and questions as we can. Pedro.
So hello everyone. I'm really happy. It was the first time in my life that I was raising my hand in Zoom. Just wanted to bring a small thing from the MIT pilots experience that was shared. It was the critical factor of bringing not only like solutions, but also really concrete tools to elected politicians. It was something that was really part of the success of this experience, was because civil society, transition initiatives, and others were coming into contact with the administration and offering concrete frameworks, international projects with funding and so on. So that really helps. I would like to ask both about the critical, about the importance of having mediators to mediate between the administration and civil society. If you think it's something that should be there more, and how could we have more mediators doing their work?
Thank you, Pedro. So whoever would like to start? Stephen, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I think it would be really helpful if there would be more mediators in the administration level also. And I think for that it's important to connect with them and see where there are seeds for projects that can be used by the transition movement to develop more. Go in collaboration with some administrative projects that are launched, because this mediating between the political level and civilian level gives the opportunity that you are really with a negotiator in between, and can translate the ideas to the political level and vice versa. Quite important in this to speak the same type of languages, because it's, as I said before, it's not always a question of budgets and that kind of stuff. You need to see and to feel, okay, these transition initiatives can be also usable for projects we have in the city development in our different departments, and to try to have them on a higher scale, a higher level. I'm really a fan of mediators more and more.
Thank you, Stephen. Gorka, would you like to comment something on that? Go ahead, please. The mic.
Okay, here. Sorry for my technical issues. I agree on what Stephen is saying, but I would also like to talk about the other side, let's say, okay? So if you are talking about, when you say mediator, if you are talking about experts, I think that's fine, but those could be also technicians that we also have in the city halls, or whoever knows about it, it's always welcome, of course. But if in a city hall we need a mediator, something is wrong. Because my mom, if she wants to talk, you know, if she has a suggestion, she should be able to go to the city hall and communicate whatever she has to say, anyhow, anyway, right? I don't know if that makes sense. I want to add what you say, yes, Stephen. I'm not against what you say, but if mediators are experts are always welcome, but at the same time, the city hall needs to be open to everybody or any who wants to go and just make whatever suggestion, right?
Thank you, Gorka. Well, you see different opinions, complementary. I think, of course, it may depend on the place. It may depend on the administration, the scale, and so on. Tommy and Noemi.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me well? Okay. Thank you very much for your speeches. I really enjoyed them. And I have never worked with politicians, so I'm really ignorant about it. But I have a question about the green, let's say, agendas. Like, how do you, not as individuals, but as institutions, how do you feel them? Sorry. Like, is there like, I mean, there is like a common agreement that it seems to be the way to go forward little by little. But do you feel like pressures, for example, from a national, I don't know, whatever entity level or the European directive, or it's just up to the each individual, depending on if he or she is more motivated or not? Yes, I mean, what you can tell me about it. Thank you.
So of course, if you are motivated on that topic, you know, you are gonna get better results because, you know, if you're you know, goal oriented on that sense, on green, what you say, green agenda, that will help. But the European resolutions and the Spanish resolutions actually are asking you to decrease the CO2, you know, level, so you also have objectives that are coming from you know, higher institutions than the city hall. So even if you want it or if you don't want it, there are several things that you need to start doing. I don't think those are enough though, because it's like you need to decrease 20% of CO2 emissions in your town. Like, what do you mean? Like, how can I do that? Like, Because I run the city hall, I don't run the whole town. I cannot ask everybody to stop driving their car. So, well, there are some goals and objectives coming from higher institutions, but those are not very, I don't know how to say, very clear how to do the thing. And then if you are involved in this kind of objectives, then you are going to try to find out how to do it. If you are not,
Thank you, Gorka. Do you want to add something, Stephen? Please go ahead.
Yeah, very shortly, very briefly. I really believe that all the projects coming from the civilians are worth watching and worth considering, because in our city, in Dilbeek, there is a covenant of the mayors in Flanders, where they need to reach also some of the levels at the 20% reduce. And so ideas coming from civilians, we also help them. We had an air picture of the see how the energy spending in the houses was. And so streets can look for that and working together and have some subsidy on isolation and that kind of stuff. So I think there is certainly a mediation in between two civilian initiatives and the city to help together to reach the goals needed. And we need to do far more, as we all know.
Thank you, Stephen. So great that we have some hands up. Before any of these hands were up, Istvan, that unfortunately he left. He said that he needed to go. He wrote in the chat a comment that I think it could be interesting if I read it. I don't know, Tracy, if your question or comment was connected to that or not. Okay, so then let's go. I'm going to read it. Istvan said, "Hi, I need to go soon. Thanks for the presentation. One idea to share." Just to mention that Istvan, he's an activist with a lot of experience in Budapest, but also he's right now working in the public administration. So I do agree that we as transitioners in a wider sense, need to be constructive and provide answers and solutions that politicians can use or follow. That's the carrot. I also think that we as locals need to use the stick approach too, gathering popular support to put pressure on politicians to coerce them towards the soul. So it's like these both, like the carrot and the stick. Also to push them, not only to support them, to use both of them. This is what Istvan wanted to share. So let's go with these two hands, and also I'm sure after that, Amy, I know with your research, I'm sure there's many interesting things you would like to add, and we would like to invite you to do so if you feel like. Let's go with, I don't know who was first, Tracy or Joe, but let's go with Tracy, because maybe it's also a bit related with what Istvan was saying, I don't know. And later we'll go with Joe, and later if Amy wants to share about her research.
Hi, thanks. Thanks for the presentations. And Juan, no, it's not related to what Ishti said. So I hope it's okay to continue. But yeah, maybe it's drawing from the same experience as what he has. So both of you said when you were talking that, as residents, as local citizens, then we should feel open to approaching the council, to the mayor or councillors, or perhaps even the administration, and presenting them with ideas, not as problems, but as solutions. So I've got quite a lot of experience with this from very simple things. And I find if I go with a very simple idea and I'm asking for their support, maybe on an event, for example, then that's fine, that can happen. But we've got to the point that really, you know, we don't need their support on simple things. We need them to recognise basically, like, quite often the councils are inherently failing because of their structures to deliver what they could, especially on climate. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about, for example, the council's own use of energy, or the way that they handle, for example, school catering, which is often just through massive contracts and doesn't take into consideration any local food possibilities, for example. Another question might be, for example, the green waste in a council area. The council could deal with this creatively, and they could come up with like good ideas how to use green waste, keeping it local, as opposed to doing what they do here in Budapest, which is transport it to the one big municipal composting site. So my question is, what do you suggest in terms of getting the council to look at structural issues within their own policies? How do we make this happen? Because this is where we are, this is what we want to make happen, and this is what frustrates us most. We don't need them to just support us on small things, which are generally the type of things which involve changing public awareness. We can do public awareness raising perfectly well without the council, perhaps better. But how do we get them to look at their structures, the services that they're offering, and to follow up on their own strategies? Strategically, our council has like a list of strategies for everything, and they're great, and we quite often have input into them. We quite often know the people who are writing them, and we give them very strategic input, and then we wait and we clap when we see it goes through. It's great, but we can't get them to deliver. How do we get them to deliver? So that's my question.
Thank you, Tracy. Wow, what an important question. It's in your side, Stephen and Gorka. Gorka.
Okay, I don't know if I'm going to be able to answer you, but let's say that when you're talking about, for instance, waste management, you are talking also about big corporations and a lot of money. So when you are thinking on more resolutive solutions like neighborhood composting areas or things like that, in Orense we compost all the organic fraction in our own town, but you're talking about a lot of money. So in a small village like me, you can do that, but in bigger cities, you know, and you know, you are escalating to a bigger positions in, you know, it's like, I'm a politician, all right, I don't know if I'm a politician. Those are the real politicians, and if they are there, it's because somebody decides that they are going to be there, and it's not always us. So I don't know. I don't know if I am saying the right thing, but that's how it is. And if there is another question or something that I didn't answer, like small things can happen. Big things usually involve money. And when money is in between, it's harder because there are a lot of interests. And those interests run everything from the newspaper to the main political parties. So that's why I say, please present yourself as a representative. Maybe you can make the change. If you're able to be there without supporting whoever you have to support if you want to be there.
Thank you, Gorka. So you suggest that maybe Tracy, she could present to like a mayor of Budapest, maybe. Could you imagine that?
I think she's very articulate, more than I am. I think she should try. And don't laugh about it. I'm speaking seriously. I was living in Czechoslovakia for 5 months as a student. So I think you will do a good job. You're very articulate. You should try.
Thank you so much, Gorka. Maybe like the next Ada Colau in Barcelona, but we will have Tracy in Budapest. Why not? I have to say that I would vote for you. So, Stephen, if you want to follow that question.
Yeah, briefly. It's not easy. In fact, I also think the small.
We can't hear now. Can you start again, please? I don't know
Yeah,
why.
it's not easy. I said. I think first try to do this, the small steps, to see what you can approach. And sometimes from the city, what we do, we have think tanks around for some of the bigger projects, and then civilians can be involved to think what the city can do in this kind of occasions. But I agree with Gorka. There is a lot of money involved. It's a slow process. You have to try to have that really change to deliver. And I would say try to widen your network as much as possible to give that pressure needed for change. But on the other hand, also try to go for mayor maybe in Budapest, and then you can also solve the problem. But it's not an easy thing to do. I think step by step in small occasions that might make a difference from there as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
Furthermore, most probably, if you present yourself to Budapest and you start changing the management of the waste and changing the money from going to where it has to go to, you know, spending somewhere else, they will make sure that you won't be the next mayor. That's what happened in here where I live. We stopped, my political party, or the one that I represent, stopped the incinerator. Guess what? We didn't continue, you know, in the power because they made sure that, you know, we were the worst thing in the world. Plus, the ones that stopped the incinerator are about to go to prison. So it's not easy. You know, changing is not easy. And if you are making these kind of decisions, you are in a risk to be involved in a judicial procedure. So, you know, try to be the mayor, but watch out.
I like to add before we go to the next question, because about this that you can be persecuted. There's a case that Gorka knows very, very well in Spain, of a municipality called Carcaboso, quite close to Portugal. This is a municipality that also is very, very innovative with many things regarding transition, sustainability, and everything. And the mayor is right now almost entering into jail because it's in a small municipality also. Well, probably Gorka even knows more details than myself, but he has been persecuted, well, it's, you know, when you try to do things differently, it's very hard. Another question, it could be also that also from politics, maybe there's things that you can't do. You have power, a lot of power, but there's things that maybe you don't have the power to, because of the structure, or because of the corporations, or because of the laws, or because of many other things. And I think this also connects to what you were saying, Tracy. So before Joe, that I think Joe is right now somewhere outside, we had a question from you, or a hand up. Joe, do you still have a question?
Yeah, yes.
Oh, okay, go ahead, Joe.
Hi, thank you. I find this really, really interesting and inspiring, so thank you very much. I've got a lot of positivity out of it. My question is slightly more cynical, I think. I have been approached by some local councillors because we've got quite a prominent transition town in my local area, and I have some cynicism and nervousness around their agenda, around why they want to meet us. And I think I'm trying to, I've been listening to the ideas around developing a positive proposal to come to them, to approach them with, so that it can be controlled to some extent. But I was curious around things. What are people's experience around things like getting your agenda stolen a little bit, which I guess can happen, but also the nature of the election cycles. You know, I'm thinking that if I come, we have elections in the spring in the UK, and you know, if I come to them with an idea, will they just use it to run their election with, and then kind of drop it in the summer? You know, is anyone got any experience around that? Is there any ways of kind of genuinely holding people to account? That kind of issue. I was just curious, did anyone have any thoughts on that?
Thank you so much, Joe. I don't know if Gorka or Steven or anyone else also. And it's not only Gorka and Steven. We have a lot of intelligence here in this group. So who would like to go with that? Gorka or Steven, would you like, or maybe whoever? I just.
To be honest, I didn't get the question very well. Sorry for my English. Could you ask me again? But you were suggesting of how imagine if I present myself as a mayor, how my agenda and your agenda could match together without.
Well, as a representative of a local community organization with quite a good following and profile. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I've realized I'm a bit far away here. As a representative of an organization with quite a good following, we could get into a relationship, for example, something quite strong around zero waste. But I'm nervous that we'll get used for lots of photo ops and then be kind of dropped after the election. I think that's the kind of shorthand way of doing it.
Okay, so you're scared if they are going to use you as a catch, let's say, and then, well, I don't know. That's why the first part of the thing was like meet that person, you know. I don't know with whom you are. I don't know with who you are presenting your ideas, or who's trying to be at the picture with you.
It would be local councillors at a borough level in London.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow,
kind of like,
that's like huge, man.
Well, it's I think they're
that's
really interested
huge.
in but I think they're interested in so there's like ward level, then borough level, and then it's Croydon, so it's a council on the outside of London, so it's not like London, you know, it's not the whole thing in a way.
Okay, if I were you, I would take the risk.
Yeah.
Because the thing is that because the cool thing would be to make it happen. So if now it's not happening, and that could be maybe a narrow window that would make that happen, if I were you, I would try to be with them or be part of them. So you're not just at the picture, but you would be also developing the idea, and maybe you could be, or you or whoever represents your group would be there giving ideas. You know what? The money is where it is, and if you want to make the things happen, you need to be there. That's why the last part of my speech was, please be the mayor in wherever you are, because Orendain it's a zero waste town, but it's a zero waste town because we decided.
Yeah, thank you.
I would also.
Oh, Stephen, go.
I would also take the risk, but share it with a lot of people. Share your idea, bring it out, make it visible, and then that you are still the owner of the idea, and so then you can share it with the politician, and he has to follow it up how he will do it when he will be elected. That's important. So don't give your idea away, but your idea is good, then you can share it with someone to follow it up.
Okay. So Thank you, Stephen. Thank you for your question, Joe. Joe, could you please put your mic off? Because sometimes we hear some. Thank you so much. And I think Gorka wants to add something quick, and later we have a few questions. Still?
Yes. You should have a clear agenda of what needs to be done if they get elected. And they have to sign a clear agreement with this agenda. If not, don't go to the picture, maybe.
Thank you, Gorka. So I think it was Tracy's hand first and later Filipa. We have 20 minutes, a little bit less. Just to remind that. So Tracy, go ahead.
I just wanted to answer that as well from our own experience. I think it's a very, very good question. And I think that sums up very nicely what a lot of civil organisations' fear is. The fear of being co-opted, the fear of somebody who you don't generally agree with on everything representing your agenda, and you losing some control over that. We had to think about that really seriously, and we came up with some strategies. One was that if we work together with the council, no matter what we do, we're extremely visible about it. So people know what our involvement is, and they know that it's not just the council that's doing something, that it's also the local people who they already trust. So that gives us the opportunity to be able to praise the council when they do something well, but also to criticise them when they're not coming up with what they promised. So we tend to use that as a kind of a sort of a balance, a check and balance, because we've taken the risk of working with them. But there's one other thing we did, which, you know, was a kind of a strategic thing, and I think it's something maybe worth considering. Maybe other people have done this too. We realised that the council can work with us easily in terms of issues, but as I said before, it's more difficult when it's structural things or services which the council run, and especially, as what Gorka said as well, when something involves money. So what we did before the last elections here is we decided that we wanted to get closer to the council, and we organised a meeting, and we invited every one of the candidates, and we said to them, as when and if they're elected, would they accept that we take part in all the committee meetings? So basically, committee meetings here are open to the public, but if you have the status of being a guest, then it means you get access to all the materials that go to the committees. And we did this because we realised if we do this, then we get access to all the information we want, and we get to be able to interact with them on the issues as they come up, and not just with things which maybe are important to us or what they find. So I guess what I'm saying is find some way of, no matter what they want to do with you, find some way of building yourself into their structures. Because if you do that, then in the long term, you can remain closer to them, and you get access to the decision making as well. So I would suggest that as being one way that you could deal with this.
Wow. Thank you so much, Tracy. Very, very interesting inputs. So we have Filipa, and later we have Anne, or Amy, I don't know how to pronounce it. Filipa.
Thank you, Juan. For me, this subject is really, really interesting. And I come with my own experience with working with mayors and all that, and politicians. And I really find, what I really find interesting is this conversation about change in supporting mayors or being in connection with mayors and the mayors themselves, and how difficult that balance is. Because from one side, what I hear you saying, Gorka, really makes sense. For me, you are representing the alternative transition mayor, that you are asking from the civil society to work with you as the new alternative civil society. So bringing solutions and being part of the future, and being co-responsible as you are with their own role. I see that, but how this pair has to work together, and so difficult that is to find that these meet at the same time. So this is really interesting for me, how you work with both, that they meet, because one of the things that we see in the movement is the fear. There are conversations about that. That is the fear to present ourselves as politicians and create these little boxes that people do not see you as one of them because they put you in political parties and so on. I would like to say something about this thing of being in the picture. I really agree with Tracy. Making visible is really, really important. Some ideas, even what we worked with mayors, it was to do not mind that they fly with the idea. That the idea does not belong to us. And if they do it, sometimes it's really good. So you are in the shadow is okay. You have to work a little bit with our ego, but otherwise it's okay. The other thing that it happened to me once was, and I would like to see how you, Gorka, would react there was really in the point that there was elections and the mayor in place of my town, where I have my own initiative, we worked for many, many years with her and she was with us. But then we organized a huge international event. It was a Judada. Juan was there as well. But just after that, there was an election and we were afraid that the power would change. And we worked with her and we agreed that she would never appear publicly connected to the event, not to make it her own, in a way that the next one would not destroy it. This brings the problem of marking certain kinds of actions we have with a certain mayor, and another mayor that comes after wants to delete everything that the other one did. So my question for you, Gorka, would you be ready to be stepping back to protect something that is happening in your town? So that's me.
Go ahead, Gorka.
Of course, I'm not that important. I'm not important at all. Just for my mommy, I think, and I don't know that either. So yes, but at the same time, I think that what the transition movement is claiming, it's not a property of my political party or the other political party. We are trying to make the life in the planet survive, kind of, right? So I don't know how the transition town movement ideas could be mine. Plus, it's not something that I created. It's something that I am learning from, I am inspiring from, I am, taking ideas from. So it's not about mine, it doesn't have anything to do with me. But it's very inspiring because it teaches me how, what should be done. Even if the citizens in my town are like, what the crazy ideas you are, what the hell are you talking about happiness? Why are you asking me about happiness? Are you crazy? You're a mayor. You do your stuff, which is like, if the light is missing, you put the bulb, or you raise the flag, or whatever, Because we really need to change the culture of what politics, or how politics should work. And that's why I'm asking you, please be representative. Go, not because I want you to make your ideas as they have been doing the last 2,000 years, but because I want to have institutions in which everybody can have their ideas and everybody can make decisions. And then the general topics are like for everybody. I don't know if I am. And then the other part of when you present yourself as a mayor, you have a lot of problems. One of them is that you need to make decisions and you need to write the laws. And when you write something, it doesn't work for everybody because you're making statements, and the statements are not fair. It's impossible to write something that is going to be 100% fair, no? And that's when you contradict yourself. I made a lot of contradictions. So that's why I'm very happy to be mayor, because I learned a lot about me, because I had very beautiful ideas. But then when I started writing the laws and when I started making decisions, I find a lot of contradictions. So that's my inner learning process of being mayor. But when you're making decisions, you will find contradictions.
Thank you, Gorka. When you make decisions, you find contradictions. I think this is a good sentence. And also this idea that you're bringing of, hey, what if all of us would present, and who knows, maybe could become mayors or something like that. And I have to add to that, Gorka, you are living probably your role. Yeah, you make like that, like partying, you roll in your town. But what if you would present for national Spanish elections and you would become the president? Could you imagine that? I would vote for you. I would vote for you. Well, we have less than 10 minutes and we have Amy and also Tracy. Amy.
Okay, can you everyone hear me like this? Yeah.
Hear you very well.
Great. Okay, excellent. So I have been looking at Froome, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. They've had great successes, and that was part of my PhD, which I submitted in January this year, so I'm just waiting feedback on that. So it's a very rich and exciting story. So just because we haven't got much time, if I just kind of share, like the conditions, as it were, of why and how they got to be where they are. So Froome is a town of 27,000 people in Somerset in the UK. And in 2011, there were oh gosh, I just can't remember. I've been doing other things and I can't remember the numbers now, but I think it was 10 people that were elected as part to be the independents for Froome, some of which came from the Transition Initiative, and now they control all 17 seats in the town council. So they are in full control, and a lot of the ideas came from transition, and there were some transitioners which were part of the 2011 administration. But going back to your concern, Joe, around getting involved with these borough councillors in Croydon, one of the main reasons why the independents for Froome were able to get into power was because they had a community plan, which was a precursor to a neighbourhood plan, which is part of the localism policy agenda in the UK. And because of this community plan, which Transition was very, very involved in, this is like 2008, when it was the time to take power in the elections in 2011, and obviously I can tell a bit more about that, why they stood. But it was because Transition had such a strong influence on the community plan that they came along saying, because it all happened very quickly, and they were able to use the community plan as a de facto manifesto, because they weren't a political party, but it was very, very strongly green. So they basically said, well, the community, 3,000 people were consulted on this plan. They said they want green stuff. Okay, well, we'll use that as our manifesto. And when they got into power, they had a strategy for success, which was based on all of these contributions in the community plan, a lot of which came from a very strong transition initiative, which were really over-representing the green perspective, but nonetheless it got in the plan, and it then went on to influence the neighbourhood plan. And this very much, and the neighbourhood plan is part of the local planning framework now, because it's been adopted or made, and that has got so many things that came from transition. It's got stuff around co-housing and self-build, and it talks about resilience, and it's really, really green and transition-like. So you just need to kind of understand who these people are. Like maybe they want to consult you on a particular plan, which could then mean that you have kind of statutory influence if it gets adopted as a particular document. And just so I think that's definitely an opportunity. And in terms of Froome, you know, obviously, like at the moment we've got Brexit and austerity, and they are opening up alternatives to come into the fold more. So, you know, we've got, you know, times which are exciting, but also, you know, we don't quite know what's going to happen. But as I say, that's entry points. And Frome itself is a smallish town. Well, it's 27,000 town, so it's easier. It's a very, the transition and the personal relationships around transition are very, very strong, and they've been cultivated over a number of years. And so, you know, the local networks just enabled the transition and independent politics to kind of come together in a way that made it very cohesive, and so they have like an orchestration of different people involved in different things, which means that things filter very and diffuse very quickly. And one of the things that they got in their neighbourhood plan, which the transition movement, the transition town is also involved in, is the One Planet Living principles. So the town, you know, said it's going to be fossil free by 2046, and that is primarily because of you know, very active and strong personalities who are very behind the green agenda, who were able to kind of say that, and they know that they got the support about those kind of things. So it's definitely strength of personalities is one of the things, and because of what was in the community plan, they could justify resourcing a resilience officer, which then was actually doing the work on the ground to initiate all these green and exciting initiatives in the community. So yeah, I mean, I can talk for a long time on Frome, but that's just basically some of the elements, and one of the fundamental things is their governance, because they have the ways of working. So they're not a political party, and they kind of just have these basic rules of, someone's said it was like a well-functioning family. So you just kind of have respect for each other's views and diversity. And, you know, they became so strong in that actually, you know, in my interviews, I found that the political actors kind of just started to drop by the wayside almost, and then they took power completely of the town council. So it's definitely possible to do. But interestingly though, because they became so green, there was a lot of soul seeking in the transition town because of that, because it caused a little bit of attention, because some of the really active people came from the transition movement into into local politics, and so it did cause a bit of a hiatus and, as I say, some soul searching. So so it's the mainstreaming of transition locally, but there are some kind of after effects as well for the movement to consider.
You can hear the silence. That's really, thank you so much for sharing. I think I know it was short and very well, you explained a lot of information in not much time, but I think it was very interesting. Would you like to also to share, if you have some, I don't know, some of that information, or you have some resource or something with us? Because like this, we in the blog article with the recording, we will put all that information. It could be very helpful. The same for everyone, huh? That any resource, whatever you have been sharing, I think that would be very useful.
I'm working on a paper at the moment, but it's not quite ready yet, and so I will have stuff to share, but not just yet.
Fine, it's fine. I mean, thank you so much for sharing. Well, so as you can see, we are arriving to the end. Before we had a hand from Tracy that is not here anymore, but I think, okay, it was a mistake. Okay, thank you, Tracy. So we are arriving to the end. We are closing. I think it has been a super interesting and inspiring webinar. And I'd like to give a last opportunity for Stephen and Gorka. If you have any last comment, it's fine if you don't have it, but if you have something, a last sentence or something you would like to share, a message or something before we close.
Yeah, briefly, I totally agree with what Amy just said. If you want to change the system, change the political system like they did in Frome, it would work out. And I think we all need to start in small neighborhoods, build this kind of resilience with the transition movements there, and from there on go into politics. And like Gorka is our mayor transitioner, so that helps also a lot. And I think that's the way to go, step by step. And Froome is for me also an example of a good way, of direction.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Stephen. The sound, it wasn't so good, but I think you summarizing, you said like going step by step, working in our neighborhoods, and from there going to politics, you know, and and Froome is a good example.
Froome is a good example.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Gorka.
So first of all, thank you all for being there. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts and my ideas. I don't know if I was clear enough, but anyway, I will do the opposite way because I wasn't as conscious as I am now after being a mayor of everything that needs to be done. So now that I won't be a mayor anymore, I will try to work from the society, and I will try to make my best as a civilian. And I hope to find you in further, webinars, and I hope to learn and keep working, but from another point. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Gorka. And doesn't matter the hat we are wearing, doesn't matter we're politicians or civil society or whatever. We are all humans and part of this planet. So we need to live and we have all these challenges together that we need to face. So thank you, Nicola, for the support. And this recording will be in the Hot Topics website. Please, I know that I repeat many times that put the resources there to share with us. And thank you so much. I think it has been a wonderful space. And we continue. And just a reminder that we have our last webinar of this series by the end of March. It's called Practical Sources of Inspirations, Tools, and Resources. That it will be the 20th of March. So you will receive all that information also. So thank you so much. And just you can put your mic on, and you can, like this, we can hear all voices.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Ta-ta. Thanks very much.
Ciao, ciao.
Interesting. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Adeus, Angela.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
A disfrutar de